What is good, guys? My name is PotatoPleb. Welcome back to another Vienna Game middle game video. This is episode, I believe, 8 of our huge Vienna Game series. Today we're going to take a look at the middle game position of the Vienna Gambit declined. Right now, today we're going to take a look at 3 different positions in the middle game. Learn the critical ideas for both white and black so that you can prevent the black's idea. And we're going to see how we can solve issues or create issues for blacks in the middle game for Vienna Game. So, without further ado, let's look at the first position here. The first position, if you go back to episode 2 of the series, you can get the detailed opening guide video. But to give you a quick run through, we have the Vienna Gambit here, and black declines it, and we're going to play knight f3. And then we take the center, and then he plays bishop e7, and then I believe we are supposed to play bishop f4, retaking material, castles, bishop d3. I said that we cannot go bishop c4 because of the center fork trick, so keep that in mind. Go check out the video, episode 2. So after bishop d3, I believe he plays bishop g4, and then we castle. And I said that this is slightly advantageous for white, plus 0.7, mainly because of the development, advantage in development, and also the fact that it has 2 center pawns. Now, to take a look at this position, I can just straight up say that knight to c6 for black is the best move here, targeting this pawn immediately, because after takes, let's say I play something random like a3, after takes, black has knight takes d4, and you basically concede a pawn for free. Here I believe queen f2 is the best move, but this is not ideal. Like we are given away free pawn, and engine evaluates this as -2, and that's very sad, and we don't want that, right? So in order to like not walk into these terrible blunders, we're studying this video. So initially speaking, the idea is to get out of this pin while trying to simultaneously protect this pawn, obviously. Now eventually what I would say is the queen should go to either the g file or the h file, so that it puts pressure on the king's side for black. So that's like the long-term solution. So for example, I'm not saying that this is a good move. Just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to play like this. Let's say like this. Here, this is a very strong move, but we are just playing randomly right now. Let's say it goes backwards. Like ideally, this is the kind of the attack that you want to pull off, with the bishop pressuring on the g pawn, the queen pressuring on the g pawn. These are the kind of position that we want to have, like a huge king side attack, because we have an open f file and such. However, as you could see from the entire sequence there are lots of problems that we have to solve first. We need to prepare our attack slowly and surely in order to make things work. If we rush anything, our attack will fall apart and you will be in a very bad spot. So after knight c6, I recommend you pursuing by protecting this pawn while simultaneously protecting this bishop. Because in a lot of cases, when you bring the queen around, as I showed you, there's always this knight h5 idea. This idea can be very annoying. So by playing this preventive move, this prophylactic move, bishop e3, not only we're defending this pawn right here from tactics, we're also preventing this move, knight h5, in the future. So because of that move, bishop e3 is a very good idea to keep in the back of your mind. Of course, since this is the middle game, you don't have to play this move right away, but I'm going to I guess pursue from the perspective of what happens if you play this move. So you play bishop e3. Now, the idea for black is to try to trade this bishop, light squared bishop. Now, there are a few reasons why black would want to do that. Well, first of all, as you can see here, there's a nasty pin here, and the only way we can kind of unpin it is either move our queen away or block it with the bishop. And also, this bishop is a long-term asset for white because it has a nasty diagonal that targets the h-pawn, and it could potentially cause major problems for black. So, in order to kind of neutralize this threat, one of the ideas for black is to play knight b4, targeting the bishop right away. Now, as I said multiple times in in all the Vienna game positions, preserving the light squared bishop for a future attack is very, very good. This is like this could potentially be a monster bishop, so we kind of want to preserve it. So it is hard to imagine this bishop being strong right now, right? Because it's kind of being kicked around. It's kind of blocked in by this pawn, and there's like, and down here it seems very passive and all that. But trust me, if you keep this bishop alive, in the long run, it's going to be an asset. So try preserving it if possible. Now after this, now we must look in the perspective of black. Now for black, this bishop's like extremely passive, so you want to try to develop that somehow in the future. This knight seems very off place because we targeted this. So what do we do for black here? So according to the Lichess database, in a lot of cases, in this specific position, black would play the move c5 a lot. Kind of like the Sicilian, I guess. Like, kind of looks like in the Sicilian with the difference of not having an e-pawn for black and white has an open f-file. So it kind of resembles but doesn't at all. Okay, I'll argue that it doesn't resemble at all. Okay. But if you look at it, it's a pretty weird idea because I understand that you're trying to add pressure to the d pawn here. But now what? It's kind of like now what kind of a vibe after a3. Also, we can play the move h3 as well. So in this position, I really dislike this position for black because it just feels very claustrophobic. Like, not claustrophobic in a way, but like you can get kicked out so much. Like it feels very bullyable. Let's put it like that. It feels very bullyable for black. So in this case, yeah, just kick it around, and then in most cases, black will go back, and we can just pursue from here. However, an engine-backed idea black can actually play in this position is going to be, oh well, after this move, it's going to be d5. Just breaking the center and trying to get this bishop out. Remember how I mentioned that this bishop is very passive? Now it is kind of open because of this move. d5. Now e5 is very natural, so let's see what happened. After e5, oh yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah, I forgot about this. So I had to turn on the engine there for a moment, but after e5, there's the move knight e4. So knight e4 is actually a pretty scary move, in a way, because it's like taking an outpost and it looks menacing. However, we're just going to play very calmly. We're going to play a3 first. We're going to start with a3. And when the knight goes back, we're going to target it once again with our bishop, with the idea of taking back, with the idea of targeting the h-pawn. Now we see this power of preserving this light squared bishop here. So in this case, there won't be much choice for black, honestly. I think we just take here for black and try to ruin the pawn structure. But I will even argue that this kind of helps white because it creates a very, very solid center like creates like a nice little cap that preserves our bishops really nicely. It's beautiful. And this kind of allows us to start transitioning to a huge massive attack like queen e1 into queen g3. It's just worth noting that there's always this move after takes, but we can always parry that easily. So no need to worry about that. The engine suggests in this position to play the move f6. For black, obviously, because it needs to kind of like spearhead and try to nimble away this huge center. But what we're going to do is we're just going to take, as the engine suggests, we're just going to take the open b file. We're eventually going to kick out this bishop. But honestly though, I really don't like kicking out this bishop because eventually it could move around, swing around like this, and I just don't like the idea of the bishop trade this like relatively passive bishop compared to our huge bishop. I just don't like the idea of trading that. I really like the idea of just swinging around our queen and then starting a huge attack. Now this is still fine for white. The engine says that this is plus 0.4, so I would actually say, practically speaking, if you're playing either a blitz or a rapid game, swinging around the queen for a massive attack is going to be a more valid option rather than playing h3. Other variation that I introduced for you was bishop e7 variation for black. In this case, I recommended you to play the move bishop e2. I said that bishop c4 is also a completely valid option, but however, always keep in mind that when you have both a bishop on the c file, the bishop on the c file and the knight on the c file like this, and if the e4 pawn is unprotected, then it could always be a target of a center fork trick. Now the engine says that this is a perfectly fine position. However, it is always worth noting that being center forked is not pleasant. It's fine, but it's not pleasant. So I think that's the reason why the engine actually recommended us to play the move bishop e2 rather than the move bishop e4, c4. So please do keep that in mind. And with that in mind, let's pursue this line like how I explained in the video. So after this, I believe, yeah, knight c6 will be played, and then we're going to take the center, takes, and castles. And this was kind of like the position that I showed you. Now the idea here was to castle and then try to storm in the center like this. However, although the engine says that it's like completely equal here, with a little bit of finessing and a little bit of maneuvering, you can get a rather huge attack on the king's side. So let's see how we can actually pursue this. So there are a few pawn break ideas that you can think about here. Well, now it's obviously black's move. Well, in a lot of cases, the engine says that playing, like centralizing the rook is a really good idea for black. But in a lot of cases, especially on lead chess, the move either b6 or the move c5 was played a lot. So let's look at what will happen if c5 is played, because it's very natural looking, right? Well, if c5 is played, what we're going to do is very simple. We're just going to put our queen back. And then, as I said, we're going to prepare pushing these pawns forward. So we're going to develop our bishop. We're going to centralize our rook. Well, this one's already centralized, so we don't have to, but we're going to centralize our rook. And then we're going to start rolling down these pawns. And we're going to start creating some major issues on the center. Also, it is worth noting that since this bishop, it's this bishop again, this light square bishop again, what it can do is it can develop into these nasty diagonals, creating some major issues in the future. So the idea of developing the light square bishop in the middle game is always a very strong idea, because it can create some long-term issues for black here. Also, in addition, we have an idea of closing down it. so that the bishop can never join the party, and then we can just swing in here if we always want. So those are some of the key attacking ideas in this position. I can't give you a specific sample line here because there's just so many different variation here. But it is worth noting that these kingside attacking ideas are some strong ideas in this position, and what makes this opening very, very deadly. The next position that I'll be sharing with you is going to be this specific position here. Now, in the second episode of the Vienna Game video, I explained to you that the engine suggested the move Queen E1, and then just swinging around the queen for a massive attack is going to be the way to go in this position. And that is true. However, you don't have to necessarily play the move Queen E1 right away if you don't feel like it. However, before looking at what alternatives that we have here, let's take a look at some of the weaknesses of our position. Because it is very important to understand the weakness of our position so that we don't blunder. Like, we can understand, like, we can memorize opening and stuff, but if we don't understand our weaknesses, then let's say the opponent plays something different from our preparation, then we don't know how to react to it because we don't understand it. So let's try to understand this position here. So one of the core weakness of White's position here is the d4 square. Right now it seems like, oh, PotatoPleb, d4 seems perfectly fine. Like, it's protected by the knight, and it just feels fine. What's up? Well, for now it is protected by the knight. But it is one move away from not being protected by the knight, because the bishop can always take on f3, getting rid of the protector. So it is always worth remembering that even if a square is protected now, if there's a trade, like a single move trade that can change the position, it is always worth noting that it could be a potential weakness in the future. So in this position, we just need to recognize that. Now the second thing that we have to recognize is that although our position looks solid, it is just few moves away from crumbling if we don't play correctly. And I think that's all for the ideas for the middle games in Vienna Gambit Declined. I hope you found this video very instructive and helpful. Now, I'm not gonna say that this is like the complete guide of the middle game, because in the middle game there could be thousands of different variations, right? However, I hope that this general idea, like this engine-backed idea and some ideas based on my experience, could help you be more successful in your Vienna games, essentially. So finally, I just want to thank each and every one of you for 100 subscribers. It means really a lot to me. And tomorrow I'll try uploading a video of me actually playing the Vienna game, and Blitz or Rapid, one or the other. I'll be playing on Lichess, and once that video comes out, make sure to check it out as well. Thank you guys for watching. Bye bye.